5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And with that, welcome to your Media Mosh podcast. I am your host, Shane Beauregard, coming at you with all your news, reviews, and previews out to watch on your streaming services and your television. I hope everyone's out there having a great day, week, month, whatever the hell we're in right now, because I have totally lost count, folks. It's getting bananas out there, and I am slowly starting to lose my mind. I honestly don't know how much longer I'm going to last. These days are killing me, especially with my kids. God, it's rough. So yeah, my days have been filled with teaching school and then watching crappy kids television. So I don't know. I just feel like I'm in an endless tunnel of crap. And I have a very special episode for you. We'll see how this goes. And I know I say that a lot on my show, but I am as outside can be without being outside. So if you hear some nice ambient noise in the background, a la birds or crickets, yeah, those are real. Those aren't plugged in. So my VP is working late in her office, and I don't have any other rooms in the house. But the show must go on, so here I am, and here we go. The little news I have today is about the Peacock station, the new NBC streaming service, which should be coming out fairly soon. At first, I was not sold, but this past week they dropped 2 teaser trailers, one for Saved by the Bell, which is really dividing people right now. You get the people who are hashtag not my Saved by the Bell. I'm all for it, especially sitting at home with my kids for these last 3 weeks. What I saw is not as bad as what I've been watching, and I believe one of the writers is from that Funny or Die, Zach Morris Sucks sketch show, so I love those. I'm up for it, and I was going to watch it no matter what. I don't know to what extent Zach Morris is going to be in it, but all I need is Jessie Spano. That's right, Jessie Spano. And why will she always be number one on my list? Very simple, folks. Of course, when this show aired back in the day, I was right in that sweet spot of my teenage years, and she fulfilled one of my all-time dreams. That's right, she went topless in Showgirls, and possibly one of the worst sex scenes in cinematic movie history. It'll never be the worst because that is always going to go to whatever scene has 2 people having sex with their clothes on. Don't care. Yes, it was bad, but hey, she fulfilled a young boy's fantasy. That's why she'll always be number one. That's why Kelly Kapowski will never jump to the top. Screw you, Kelly. I'm on board with that. The Punky Brewster trailer dropped. I'm on board with that. I totally forgot Freddie Prinze was in that. So that's a double thumbs up for me. And Soleil Moon Frye is still hot. I'm all for it. But what will really seal the deal for me with the Peacock station is the return of Psych. Yes, one of my favorite shows of all time. Ran on USA for 8 seasons. There's been 1 movie out. All the seasons now are right on Amazon Prime. So if you have Prime, do yourself a favor. It is a very, very well written and funny show. So that is what sealed the deal with me and Peacock. I am going to try it out, at least temporarily, just so I can watch Psych. What kids shows have I been watching the last week and a half? Too many to count. But I'll give you a quick rundown. Gem. I totally forgot they made Gem into a movie. My VP was very happy. That was one of her favorite cartoons growing up. Yes, I even watched it growing up as well. Movie is absolutely a garbage fire, and I totally forgot. 1, it has Molly Ringwald. 2, it has Juliette Lewis in it. And for whatever reason, it was produced by Blumhouse, which it's not really that kind of Blumhouse movie. So I was kind of taken aback when I saw the Blumhouse production sign up there. So terrible movie. We went back and watched the first pilot episode of Growing Pains, which if you have a Roku stick, all the 80 sitcoms are on your Roku stick right now. I'm about to get into some Facts of Life at the end of the week. I'm going back and diving into Facts of Life. But anyway, getting back to Growing Pains, you forget how 80s sitcom shows were if you have not seen them in a while. The very first episode of Growing Pains, There were probably 10 sexual innuendos in the first 5 minutes, to which my daughter was starting to ask me questions. Therefore, I had to cut it off. You have Maggie Seaver making everyone breakfast before they head off to school. In walks Alan Thicke, Dr. Jason Seaver, and proceeds to hug her and make out with her and tell her in front of his kids it helps a marriage to stay frisky and sexually active. Down walks Mike Seaver and sees this, and first words out of his mouth was, "Hey Dad, what's the matter? Aren't you getting any?" Wow. Wow. That's a 1985 sitcom for you. We watched the pilot episode of Alf. That's right, the alien life form. No shit, that show actually holds up. The pilot episode was actually pretty funny. You could also find that on the Roku stick. And a little nugget of information here. Seinfeld's mom is actually in the Alf series. She plays the next door neighbor. On to better kids shows. Not what you're expecting in this episode, I'm sure. The Big Show over on Netflix with the WWE, the Giant, aka The Big Show. It's actually a pretty good kids show. It's 8 episodes. It's set in Tampa. My daughter's seen it 3 times already. For a kids show, it's up there. It's actually pretty entertaining. Plus on that, I can't remember if I talked about this last week or not, but it does have Urkel in it. So we did finish that 3 times already. So I'll get into the kids movie because every Friday night we've been having a family night, aka family movie night, where we try to pick a movie for the kids that they haven't seen, which it's impossible for them to agree on. So me and the VP end up picking the movie out. This week's feature is going to be My Spy with Dave Bautista. So I'll keep you posted on that. All right, moving on. Top 10 shows and movies right now on Netflix today. Number 10, the Netflix original Money Heist. Number 9, Waco. Number 8, The Innocence Files. Number 7, Code 8 with the Amell brothers, Steve and Robbie Amell of CW fame. Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow, respectively, coming at number 7. Dropping all the way to number 6, you have Ozark. Number 5, #BlackAF. Number 4, I believe that one has Rashida Jones in it. Number 4, the Netflix series Outer Banks. Dropping to number 3, finally you have The Redneck, the Light, Tiger King. Number 2, Too Hot to Handle, which I'm ashamed to admit that my VP and me have been watching this show. It is totally addicting, and it's everything I stand against in the show, but she doesn't get to watch that much television, so it's all her. It's a dating series. I'll get into that in a little bit. And number 1, surprisingly, is Despicable Me. Really not surprising, as many kids are probably staying home these days. That is your number 1 show on Netflix today. Coming out on Netflix next week, you have the Ricky Gervais show Afterlife Season 2, and you have the Chris Hemsworth movie Extraction, followed on the 26th, the Netflix show The Last Kingdom, which I totally forgot about. The Extraction movies produced by the Russo brothers, which leads me to Chris Hemsworth. And allow me to go off here a minute. I like Chris Hemsworth. I'm not a big fan of Thor, and especially Thor 2. I think every fucking Marvel fan rightfully shits all over that movie. But 3, he showed his humorous side. He showed that he can be funny. And he's he's got the right build. He's got the right physique. He's funny. I don't know why. In my head, I'm thinking, why hasn't he popped more? Why isn't he a bigger star outside of the MCU universe? He kind of should be, but he's not. And I can't figure it out. Is he not getting the right roles? Is he taking the wrong roles? Does he just not want that many roles? I don't know. If you look at his filmography, I mean, he's made some really bad choices, and he really hasn't had a hit outside the MCU. And he's had some really good cameos that's highlighted his funnier side, a la Vacation, which he was probably one of the funniest parts of that movie. He was in the god-awful Ghostbuster remake. Again, not bad. He was in the 2 Huntsman's movie with Kristen Stewart, and I liked the first Huntsman. It wasn't bad. Then he was in the Michael Mann bomb, Black Hat, the Red Dawn remake. He was in Star Trek for about 2 minutes. That military movie, 12 Strong. The Ron Howard film, In the Heart of the Sea. So he's been under some big directors, but nothing lands with him. I think his best role, and this is just my opinion, and he's only in the movie in the last act, was Bad Times at the El Royale. I really liked him in the movie. Go watch the trailer for Extraction. It looks like a good action. It looks like just a good action flick that belongs on Netflix. That is going to be my watch of the weekend, other than the NFL draft, which, yes, I am that kind of fucking dork. I know people make fun of me all the time, but I mark it on my calendar. I love watching the draft. I love having it on in the background. I'm that kind of guy. So I will dip into the Chris Hemsworth movie Extraction in the Mel Brothers special Code 8. That's my goal for the rest of the week. I just got to wait for the kids to hit the sack. So, totally off the subject here, folks, but I'm sorry. I did get to sneak in the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire because I figure that is, if the kids walk in, that's kind of suitable for them. It holds up, and I don't want to say Tom Holland. I don't want to say Tobey Maguire over Tom Holland, but I know everyone's on the Tom Holland fucking bandwagon right now. That Spider-Man holds up. It's funny. For back in, 2001, the special effects holds up. I like his portrayal as Peter Parker. I think he makes a good Spider-Man. I like Tobey Maguire just a little more than Tom Holland. I'm gonna say it. The only thing that ruins that Spider-Man movie is Kirsten Dunst's portrayal of Mary Jane Watson. What a terrible fucking whore she is in that movie. She's the biggest. I think she's the biggest superhero girlfriend cock tease there is ever. If you go back and watch that movie, first she's with Flash, played by Mike Manganiello. I know I butchered his last name. Then all of a sudden, without explanation, she's with Harry, while flirting with Spider-Man, and then eventually flirting with Peter Parker while still going out with Harry. So that's 4 dudes she's cock teasing in this entire movie. So that's the one thing that bothers me in that entire movie is fucking Mary Jane Watson. Also, sidebar, Octavia Spencer is in the first Spider-Man. When he's about to wrestle Bonesaw and he walks up to the table to get checked in, she's the one that checks him into the ring. So I just found that amusing. She played a small scene in Spider-Man. So, okay, really moving on now, because I know I'm all over the fucking place. Coming out on Amazon Prime, actually just got released on Friday, is Bosch Season 6 with New Haven, Connecticut's own Titus Welliver. I love that cop show. I know it's a standard procedural show, but it's well written, it's well acted. Got deep storylines for a lot of characters. Go check out Bosch if you haven't seen it. It's on Amazon Prime right now. Alright, where's my head at now? Too Hot to Handle. Now, the premise of the show is you get 10 people, 5 guys, 5 girls, all singles, in their 20s. They're chosen by their Instagram accounts and their Tinder accounts. So basically, they're like little bunnies. They just fuck all the time. So they're sent to this resort, and they think they're there to hook up with everybody. But, twist at the end of the first episode, they have to abstain from sex. That's right. And if they do, they get to share $100,000. There's violations for any kind of kissing or physical activity. It's one of those shows. These are some of the fucking dumbest people walking the planet. For $100,000, I could abstain from sex. I could abstain from sex standing on my goddamn head. It's not that hard. Maybe if you're in your mid-20s and you're getting it every day like these people supposedly do, it must be hard. But it's if you've been married, and especially if you have kids, that's a fucking cakewalk right there. Anyway, we're like on episode 5 of episode 8, and it's it is addicting. I hate to say it. So I've been half paying attention to that. My VP loves it, but these women and the guys, they're just fucking stupid. Just stupid. The kids movie we watched this past week was Trolls World Tour, which is sitting at 70% critic score with a 62% audience score, and I'm just going to lay my chips out. I barely watched this. I had my computer in front of me with my headphones on, so I kind of looked up every once in a while because I'm just not interested in the Trolls movie. So the basic premise of the movie is you have 5 factions of trolls separated by music: jazz, country, rock, pop, and each tribe had a string. They used to be together, but now they're all apart. But the rock trolls, led by Barb, wants all the strings for herself so all Troll Nation can live under one house of rock. That's your premise. So Poppy, voiced by Anna Kendrick, and Branch, voiced by Justin Timberlake, go to track down Barb to try to befriend her to unite the trolls. That's your setup. That's all you need to know. Is it as good as the first Trolls? No, it's not. And that's not saying much. So from what I did watch and the opinion that I can form, it was one. I just couldn't take it. I just couldn't take it. So I put this right up there with the Emoji Movie. It just a bad kids movie. So I go lower. And I know it's not fair. I go lower than the critics and the audience. I give Trolls World Tour a 1.5. And as it stands right now, my daughter's seen it 4 times. So, it's not made for me. It's made for kids. So keep that in mind. All right. So the last movie I watched, and all I'm going to say is I am so glad I did not see this in the theater, because I did want to go in the theater to see this. It was The Lighthouse with William Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. Directed by Robert Eggers, and that should have been my first clue because he's the one that directed The Witch. And I must have fallen and hit my fucking head. I'm in the minority. I hate The fucking Witch. It is a terrible, slow burn of a fucking movie. But critics loved it and most fans loved it. I don't know why. It's one of those Twilight Zone things where I'm living in fucking Bizarro land because I can't stand that fucking movie. So that should have been my first clue. So this one's sitting at 90% critic score with a 72% audience score. It's set somewhere in the late 18th century on the coast of New England. And you got these 2 lighthouse takers led by William Dafoe playing Thomas. He takes actual care of the night watch and making sure the light stays on. And Robert Pattinson pretty much does all the chores, the upkeep on the shack where they sleep. And I think I'm sorry. I think they call him Wilson in this movie, but later his name is Thomas, so there's 2 Thomases here. And right off the bat, I do like how this movie is shot. So I'm going to give it some positive right now. The way he plays with the black and white, he uses it to his advantage. He plays with the shadows. He plays with the ocean. So I love the cinematography of this movie. I like some of the boxy shots he tries because it gives you that kind of like claustrophobic feeling between these 2 gentlemen. But right off the bat, I gotta say, like, Defoe's character, there's very little dialogue in this movie. And they're the only 2 people in this movie outside whatever actress played the mermaid who was in one scene. And I'll get to that in a fucking minute. So they get off this boat and they go into their quarters. And the first thing fucking Dafoe does is rips 2 farts right in Pattinson's face and then tells him to go do some chores. So pretty much from the onset, you have Dafoe versus Pattinson. And eventually, over time, both men start to kind of lose their mind. More Pattinson than Dafoe, because again, Pattinson's all day just doing chores, cleaning the house, while Dafoe only at night. And he tends to the lighthouse totally nude for some reason. And they both start getting under each other's skin. And this takes a while to unfold. Pattinson's character has kind of a past. He kind of takes job after job after job because he doesn't really know what he wants to do. And Dafoe is like this old salty sea captain who always has tales of the sea and the ocean and sailors and so forth. So it's a weird dynamic these 2 men share. The acting is really good because they kind of go at each other during the day. And then every night as they go along, they both get drunk and they share stories and they get close and they're at each other's throats the next day. So where this movie really starts to kind of pick up some steam is when Pattinson misses his ship somehow to bring him back to shore. So he's stranded there and they're hit by this big storm. So now they're stranded there with this storm, and then the alcohol starts to hit Pattinson, and that's when he really starts to go at Dafoe. So, and then he has these weird imageries, which I didn't bother to try to have this movie explained to me because he starts having visions of a mermaid being washed up on shore. There's a weird masturbation scene where he masturbates to a mermaid or he's fucking a mermaid. It's fucking out there. And they're seagulls, and Defoe warns them not to touch the seagulls because they carry the souls of all the dead sailors. And there comes a time and place where fucking Pattinson takes it to a seagull, and all hell breaks loose. So the ending is inevitable. It's a very, very slow burn. It's like an hour and 50 minute movie that felt like 3 fucking hours. I can appreciate the way this film was directed. I have no problem with Eggers' direction. He, like The Witch, the way it was presented was fine. I had no issues with that. It's actually the screenplay and the writing that lets it down, and the storytelling just doesn't work for me. So plus on the acting, plus on the directing, plus on the cinematography. And I think it worked better in black and white than it would have in color, to be honest with you. It just gives it that old, I can't describe it. It's just that old-timey horror kind of film. And it's not a horror film. It's not. But it gives it that feel. But god damn, this movie laid an egg. My VP walked in and saw like 30 minutes of it and kept rolling her eyes and was like, what the hell are you watching? And it wasn't the masturbation scene. It was like everything after that. So yeah, please, if you are a fan of The Witch, then this is probably up your alley. Go give it a shot. But if you're on the fence, I would proceed with caution. I'm not going to tell you not to watch it because you may like it. But because of what I just said about the positives, I actually put this movie at a 2.5 out of 5. I couldn't get it any higher. It's a weird film. It's a weird freaking movie. So that's all I have for you folks. I'm so glad I was able to put out an episode this week. It is tough only because my kids have the TV most of the day, so I don't get to watch really any adult stuff. But I am going to get through the Chris Hemsworth movie. I will go through the Emil Brothers special. I'll have those 2 reviews, and who knows what else. I may review some other 80s sitcom shows that are on the Roku channel. So until then, folks, do me a favor, go to Facebook, check me out, Media Mosh. More importantly, go to the Apple Podcast Store, download me, share me, take a second, leave me a 5-star review. I know you want to. And then go check out Mr. Argue Myself on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Letterboxd, all different kinds of platforms for all different kinds of content, folks. Until then, I hope everyone has a great week, even though we don't know what day it is anymore. Get caught up in the mosh.